morning. Nathan Fletcher wants to know why he has to follow the guy in the Speedo. What's up with that? All right,
I left mine at home. It's too cold.
As he prepares for another education town hall, we are joined this morning, of course, by Assemblymember and San Diego mayoral candidate Nathan Fletcher. Good morning to you, Nathan.
Good morning.
Glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be indoors. It's warm,
right?
Fully clothed.
All right, let's talk first of all. I want to get your thoughts on the Occupy protest going on downtown. We had a number of arrests happening this morning.
Sure.
How would you address that issue if you were mayor?
Well, I think there's a lot of frustration across the board. You know, you see it reflected across the political spectrum on the right and the left, and I certainly understand that frustration because in an economic downturn, you know, it feels like banks and big corporations are getting some special benefit that regular folks aren't getting. And I think it really calls on all of us to do everything we can to help everyone, to make sure that you know, our struggling small businesses have the opportunity to hire people, to make sure that we're investing in jobs and doing everything we can. But you know, I think the protesters made their point. I think they were afforded great leeway by our police department to express their views. And then there comes a point at which we've got to go on and move on with functioning with that section of the city.
You touched on jobs a second ago. Tell me about your effort with Speaker Perez and Governor Brown when it comes to that.
Yeah, we started about a week ago. We did a big thing in Los Angeles. We brought in economists, we brought in investors, we brought in small businesses across the spectrum, and we talked about it. And they talked a lot about the importance of regulatory certainty, about being a competitive environment. But they also talked a lot about workforce. You know, here in San Diego, we have a lot of companies that have hundreds of jobs available. Qualcomm has hundreds of jobs, good-paying jobs available. General Atomic has hundreds of good-paying jobs available, but we don't have the workforce that has the skills for the jobs of today. And so a part of the conversation about jobs in the economy has got to be education, because how do we produce the workers we need for today's economy, for these new innovative, creative type industries.
So specifically, what would you do to address that?
Well, there's a couple things we're looking at. We've been doing a series of education town halls where we're going out and we're trying to match and identify what are the skill sets that are needed, how do we revamp our education system. And a part of it's just workforce training. You know, San Diego Workforce Partnership's doing some amazing work where they're taking people, you know, if you've lost your job today, it's a question of are you temporarily unemployed and your job may come back, or are you permanently displaced, meaning your job is gone. If you're permanently displaced, we need to bring you into a job training program, and we need to give you skills for a new economy job, for an innovative job, and then get you back out into the workforce with a competitive set of skills. And I think we've got to really relook at everything we do in today's world, and really bring a fresh set of eyes to thinking, and just we can't just replicate what we did 10 or 20 years ago. It's not working.
We're hopscotching around a lot of topics here, but I want to get your thoughts on a lot of these issues while you're here. You were recently part of the hearings about the blackout, the huge blackout that happened in September, and it seemed a lot of answers didn't really come from that at all. Did you get any answers?
No, it was frustrating. There was a series of things that were very frustrating. The first is we kept hearing, well, this shouldn't have happened. Well, it doesn't matter because it did. So why did it happen? They prepare for contingencies for thousands of scenarios. And we heard, well, there was a series of 17 or 18 things, but they were all triggered with the initial one, and we want answers on at what point the safety system should have kicked in and stopped it. The second thing that we're looking at in great depth is, are the different entities in different areas sharing information? So there's a great question of whether the Imperial area was sharing the data of what was coming this way with the San Diego grid operators, because it's possible they could have better prepared and reacted if they have known what was coming. And we're looking at some legislation to require a better sharing of data. And then the third thing is, are we here in the city of San Diego prepared to respond to a disaster?
Right.
Because one of the documents said that, well, it's a very low probability we run out of power, so we aren't as concerned about it. Well, that's not acceptable. We've had fires. We've had so many problems and so many disasters in San Diego, and the state and the county both tell our citizens to be prepared to go 72 hours without water or power. If that's a state guidance, then city governments ought to be prepared to go 72 hours. And so we got to have the proper backup generators so we don't have the sewage spills.
We always talk about those kits, too, and I think it was a hard lesson for a lot of folks that know you're supposed to have those emergency kits, and then when it comes to having it, a lot of people realize they didn't have it.
Right.
Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Good to see you this morning. Thanks for having me.
And the education town hall, when is that?
Listening tour, we've got another one coming up with Tony Young. It's coming up in the next few weeks. We're diving into a lot of topics on finding good schools that are working.
And everybody's invited to that.
Everyone's invited. It'll be on our website.
Nathan Fletcher, thank you for being here as always.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it so much. All right, let's get over to Miss Russo for our weekend temperature.